Zest is in, where resilience begins, not fixing the cracks.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Zest to Zen with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that takes you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, I am super excited to welcome my fabulous guest, Erica Thomas. She is an expert mother-daughter coach and the founder of Vita Mother-Daughter Coaching. With over 20 years as a licensed psychotherapist, she guides mothers and daughters through brave, transformative conversations that uncover hidden patterns, foster healing, and spark meaningful generational change. Together, we will explore the bonds that shape identity, voice, and connection, and the courage it takes to rewrite our stories. If you feel called, I invite you to share a little love. It costs you absolutely nothing but helps amplify incredible guest voice like Erica's today by subscribing. So share a little love so we can reach many more hearts and minds. And may this episode bring you the clarity, courage, and gentle permission to embrace your truth. Welcome, 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 Erica.
Thank you, Shel Marie. I'm so excited to be here and excited to see where this conversation takes us.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I think, wow, what you're doing is incredible, but I can imagine equally, you must, not only from before it even started, but during, there must be some extremely very, even towards ourselves, very triggering. No, I don't like using that word because I think that word always carries a little bit of negative connotation a little bit, but igniting moments, even through other people's stories and what they're experiencing. So as much as you want to share, I always think before we dive into the nitty-gritty of all the greatness you're doing now, I think sometimes it's nice to give a background to why we go down the journeys and the paths that we do, and the reason why we feel so fueled and so inspired to make a change in certain areas. So anything that comes to mind that you think the viewers would really benefit from hearing, like, feel free to share.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I guess the question I get is, how did I get into mother-daughter work? And really, for me, I think what was inspiring was my own journey with my mom.
Yeah.
So for many years, I've had a really difficult relationship with her for many reasons. And it really sparked probably around my teenage years. During those, my mom was a very good mom. I never had to worry about if I was going to eat, what dinner, what lunch, what breakfast, laundry was done. My mom went into motherhood really purposeful, really wanting to break some cycles. She experienced a lot of difficult moments with her mom.
Yeah.
And so, when she got married, she knew she wanted to be a mom and really had in her mind, I am not going to allow my children to experience what I did.
Yeah.
And my mom did break a lot of cycles. However, there were some that she didn't break. And as a result of that, it caused a lot of hurt. It created, just a lot of dark moments for me as a teenager, which eventually really kind of went into my adulthood. There were patterns and behaviors and intergenerational behaviors and patterns that she didn't realize she was doing them. I didn't realize she was necessarily doing them, right? But nonetheless, they were causing a lot of hurt. So when I went into adulthood, not really confidently, not knowing necessarily who I was, who I wanted to be as an adult woman. That's something my mom didn't mirror for me. I didn't know who my mom was as a woman.
Yeah.
So, I didn't even know her favorite color. Just even basic things like that you should know. One would think you should know. But anyhow, so
Mm.
the complexity of this relationship created a lot of difficulty for me as an adult woman. So a lot of identity crises, a lot of um, you know, wondering who I wanted to be as a mom, a
Mm-mm.
lot of fear that I was going to be my mom, because I myself did not want to repeat those patterns and
Yeah.
that hurt that she created for me.
Mm-mm.
So the complexity of that relationship created a lot of havoc. So essentially, I ended up going into adulthood from a deficit, not
Mm-mm.
even zero. I mean, you're talking about like minus 10.
Yeah.
So I had to do a lot of inner work. Um, I did years of therapy, just did a lot of processing. At this point, I'm very well processed,
Mm.
and my mom and I have healed our relationship. But looking back, had I had a really healthy blueprint with my mom, I
Mm.
necessarily wouldn't have had to go through the pain
Yeah.
that I went through. And, you know, today I am grateful, for that journey. I wouldn't be who I am without that pain.
Absolutely.
So I have a gratitude, with my journey. But then, I myself had a daughter. And
Mm.
I'm thinking, when I found out I had a daughter, I was happy, but part of me was scared.
Scared. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was thinking, uh, I
Because
told my husband, go ahead.
yeah,
No,
would
go
you
ahead.
say, I really, I want you to continue, but would you say also, because what I can hear as well is even if we're really conscious, because
Yes.
we are so zoomed in on what we don't want, we kind of, and it sounds like, and again, I don't know at all the whole ins and outs and the circumstances of your mum, but it sounds like she was so focused on what she did not want you to experience that she almost was blindsided by the other things, and so I always think generational, those are types of things that scare me sometimes, is I think I know by experiencing what I don't want, I know what I want to infuse in, but then I don't want to equally be too focused on that I miss those other beautiful moments and details.
That's
Sorry,
exactly
I
right.
just think it's
No, that's okay. And that is actually really insightful. Yes, my mom, like you said, was very focused on what cycle she wanted to break, so much that she did lose sight of some of those really important things that
yeah,
were important to me. And,
yeah.
so yeah, no, that was really insightful. I love the way you put that. And
Sorry,
yeah,
I never
I love
interrupt,
that.
but I don't know, there was just something in me that felt like just in that moment, I felt like
Yes.
that was something that just came to me that I felt like
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
needed to express. So thank you for
It's beautiful.
honoring
Yes.
that.
Oh, it's beautiful. And just thinking, how beautiful would it be for each mother to give their daughter a healthy blueprint so
Yeah.
that they don't have to start at a deficit. They can at least start at zero. Ideally, we want to
Yes.
start them in the positives, right? So that they don't necessarily have to carry the same pain that was, experienced over and over and over
Yeah.
again with each woman in our mother-daughter history. And I had to do a lot of work to break that cycle
Yeah.
for my daughter. My daughter and I actually have a really good relationship.
Mm,
She talks to me
beautiful.
just about anything. I'm sure there's something she doesn't want to talk to about me, but she feels like I'm her go-to person, and we've talked about
Beautiful.
really serious things. But she's a young woman. She's gonna be 19 here soon, and
Wow, you look so young.
I know so fast. But she is, she's not afraid to express her boundaries. She's not
Beautiful.
afraid
Beautiful.
to express her needs, right?
And this is
Uh,
the beauty of through
yes,
her, that's where
yes,
you really see the
yeah,
transformation. Because we
exactly
can
right.
say, we can whatever, and they can listen. And then
Yes,
you see, not saying no one ever has an anxiety or something, but say you see that she's people are breaking, she hasn't got those boundaries, she hasn't got this, she hasn't got that. But in seeing, you're like, beautiful,
oh, I mean, it's beautiful. I'm like,
beautiful.
yes, girl, and I even tell her, hey, I'm really proud of you for holding that boundary.
Yes.
Uh, and there's
Yeah.
times where, like this Sunday, the day before she went back to college, she was, I had this plan, and she's like, Mom, she says, well, I actually had a plan to go by myself shopping. And, there's part of me that I'm like,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I want
yeah.
to go.
What about I like shopping.
I like shopping with you, and you're leaving tomorrow. But at the same
Oh.
time, because of my work and because of our relationship, I was able to honor that boundary. I was able to
Mm.
admire that boundary. I was able to say, you know what, this is not about me. A lot of mothers personalize that,
Yes. Yes.
and they'll
Yes.
say,
And
well,
equally the other side, daughters, both
right,
sides. Yeah.
right, exactly, you're right. But in this instance, it is not, and it's not uncommon for mom to personalize it.
No,
And
no.
it's but I was able to, I had my feelings, and that was okay. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have my feelings. My feelings are my
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? That is okay. Go enjoy your time. I know this time is
Beautiful.
valuable to you. Have fun. We'll see you in a few hours. So it's something that I've learned not to take personal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you know, if I had a nickel for how many times a woman would say, I don't want to be my mother over the 20 years that, that I was a
Yeah.
therapist, women who were coming into motherhood or were in the middle
Mm.
of motherhood, and, saying, I don't want to be my mom. So when you have a woman who is saying that,
Mm.
she is coming from a place of, she is making a list of don'ts.
Yeah.
Don'ts.
Absolutely, but I equally think from the other
Yes.
perspective, like 100%, and you hear that, and it's so awful when it's always from that perspective as well. But equally, when I actually think of, say, and I would love your take on this, being a mother, when I think of it, your daughter shouldn't want to, because she should always want to be, aspire to be more. Like, I think we should always want our children to be more as well. And
Yes.
so yeah, absolutely, like saying, God, my mother, like the qualities of my mum, and feel so inspired. But equally, if say a child just wanted to be you, I would equally think, no, you should be so much bigger than that. You should, because I should really have empowered you and made you feel like you can take on the world in a way, because I want you to reach for the highest potential that you can go for. So I think on both sides. So because I'm just thinking of, say, other mothers maybe listening and maybe have heard that or something, but to again not make it about us, but ground it in a different way of, we should want the next generation to be even better. And even though it's deeply, when you know that you could have done better, and I think often some people are very unconscious of that, and they're not aware of that. But equally, I think just a more empowering way to reframe it is to think, okay, no, I can see that, but equally, take the ownership back to you. I would want my daughter to be better, to be more. So thank you, Erica.
Yes, no, you're right. And I think most moms, right? They strive for that. I think
Yeah,
most parents. I had a time where I was also doing parent coaching, and I think most parents, when I ask, like, what do you envision? How do you envision your child being when they enter
yeah.
adulthood? And they tell me all these wonderful things, and basically they want them to be better than them. They
But
want
you
to
see, that's
help.
almost the list, but it's such a
Yes,
different way. But when
it
you
is.
hear it as I don't want, it's so damaging, isn't it? Because it's almost talking about something that you can't correct because it's already happened.
It is. It is. Well, and not only that, but in the principles of just kind of the learning,
Yeah.
when we base our behavioral corrections on don'ts and not the do's,
Yes,
then
yes, yeah,
we're bound to repeat the don'ts because
yeah.
we don't necessarily know what the alternate looks like.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we try to figure that out, but we default to what's natural, you know,
Yeah,
so so
I
um,
agree. I agree.
so it would be great for a daughter to say, I want to be like my mom.
Yeah.
I would love to be like my mom rather than I am scared to be my mom. I don't want to be
Oh,
my
100%,
and
100%.
not that we do it for that, but basically from the empowering,
Yeah,
framework that
yeah.
you were talking about, how wonderful would it be for that generation to be free from that pain that
Mm,
we experience growing
absolutely.
and to the point where it doesn't even make sense to them. Like,
Yeah,
you what? You experienced that?
yeah,
Wow. And
absolutely.
I mean, I I'm really I look at my daughter with complete admiration. She is a complete
Mm,
badass. I mean, she goes out, she puts herself out there. She's willing to, step in her courage and be vulnerable and do
beautiful.
the things. And oh, I wish I would have been able to do that growing up. But, something I learned with time. But thinking about her age, I'm like, wow, had I learned that
She
at that
she is the
age,
product of you though. She is the product of what she saw. Doesn't matter the
right,
age. She
right,
sees that now in an empowering, influential woman in her life now, you. And
yeah,
so even though you can say, I wish, no,
right,
she doesn't know that version. She knows this version. And this
exactly,
is the version that has inspired that generational version. Like how
exactly.
incredible is that?
It's
Wow.
it's amazing. It's amazing. And I, it's been so when I think about my work and what inspires me to do this work is how I would love to, for women to have a healthy relationship, healthy mother-daughter relationship,
Yes, yes.
whether, mother or daughter, it's just the complexities of a mother-daughter relationship really leak into a lot of areas of your life. And they leak
Absolutely.
into friendships, they leak into our
Yes.
professional career, they leak
Yes.
into our relationship with significant others. And essentially what
Absolutely.
it does is if we don't heal those, it creates glass ceilings for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I
um,
think also as a mother to like, for say things that you've been through, to see that generationally
yeah,
happen to your
yeah,
daughter as well is heartbreaking because, and it's not saying, even if you do the best you can do, they're going to make the choices that they make. But equally, if you're showing, I just think like we are so responsible for so much because they, more than our words, it's what they see. And unfortunately, what we allow, whether they like it or they don't, like I know there was many things that I was like, I don't, and I still
right.
experienced them
Oh yeah, sure, of
because to
course.
me it felt like home. I didn't know that. I wasn't conscious of that, but there was a part of me that knew what I didn't want, but accepting what was normal to me was not then causing me more pain being rejected by something that I knew I deserved. And I
Yeah,
think and I think we eliminate that by the choices we make, by the way we show up, by the way we allow. And again, there's many types of love now, but just talking of the generic female, woman and a man, by the way that we allow certain men to speak to us, not just in a relationship, professionally, how people turn up at our door, how someone, serving us in a situation. And these are all the things that they're watching, daughters and sons. And actually, there's something I really want to talk to you about just a little bit more, to really
Yes,
zoom out, because I think
of course.
absolutely in the
Mhm.
home, we need to do our best, but equally, something that I would love to speak to you about, particularly woman to woman, and thinking of mother and daughter, okay? Because not
Yes.
all women are going to have a daughter, and not, something that I really feel that needs healing, which I believe is actually really on par with this, whether it's your daughter or not. I often think, and it's not always, but I think there's this, is it stigma the right word? I don't know. Anyway, words aside, we'll just explain it, of women, particularly younger, being in vulnerable situations, and women, not always older, but being in positions of authority that have power to change the dynamics of a younger generation, or someone that's vulnerable, or someone that needs support. And I've heard this so many times in my life, and it's not everyone, there's multiple people that make this world go round, but often when they're faced in that situation of that person really needing some help right now, there's very much a story of what they went through, not actually the thing at hand. And I went through it, so you can go through it. And I think that is the core, because regardless of, I always think, would you want that to happen to your daughter, whether you have a daughter or not? And I think sometimes, yes, we should focus on the home and nurturing our beautiful babies and bringing them into the world. But equally, how are we behaving to everybody? How are we actually interacting? Are we seeing it as, I did that, I went through that, so you can experience that? Because to me, that's not generational healing. If you're in
No.
a position, and it's not again saying there's policies, there's strategies, there's things sometimes that hold people back, communicate that with love. But equally, I think sometimes people they can help, but they don't want to, because they're so not, I don't, maybe bitter or whatever about what they went through. They're so held on that
Mm.
it kind of, they use their power in the wrong way. And I think it's just really important to really zoom out sometimes and think, okay, you're showing this and you're treating your daughter like this, but equally, how would you treat another younger female in a vulnerable situation that is asking and seeking for your advice, etc., etc., age aside? I just think we need to really be thinking about all dynamics. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, you know, it's it is really interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up because, one of the things, I have seen, is, and going back to, that sentiment of, you know, I went through this, so you're going to go through this. Some
Yeah.
of it is because either they're just mean, or some of it is, you know what, I'm a better person because of it, which is totally
Yes. Yes.
false, right? So they'll,
Yeah.
frame it
But
in
it's
that
the
way.
energy, isn't it? It's the energy,
It's
because
the
we
energy.
know
Yes,
sometimes, we know that,
yes.
like, for example, say, I don't know, it's a housing situation or something, and and the person is so, like, stuck on something else, and you can see the greatness coming for that person. You believe generally in the highest good that this is safe for this person. This is something, and they're focused on too much. I think that's
Right.
very different to, well, I had to struggle, I had to, and they can see that, what you're living in is not acceptable, not appropriate, and then they're like, I could help you, but do you know what, get on with it, because that's what I had to deal with. I think, I don't know, there's just, everyone truly knows their true intention of the reasons why they make the decisions they make. And
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
I think, going back to what you're saying, not every woman is going to have a daughter, right? Not every, some will have sons, some, will not have
yeah,
children,
yeah,
for whatever reason. And, but the thing is, one thing I love about mother-daughter work is that it extends beyond that. If we
mm,
zoom out, right? If you are able to work through those mother-daughter wounds and
yeah,
those intergenerational unhealthy patterns that are passed down that you're not aware of, and
yes,
and two, you cannot name, you are passing them on to the women in your life. So it could be friends, right? So you're
yes,
holding your
yes,
friends to certain expectations. It could be a supervisee, like you said, they're in authority figures and in an authority figure position, and
yeah,
in a power position, and where they're in a position where they can create change,
yeah,
but because they go in with a certain mentality that is formed by their mother-daughter relationship,
yes,
they actually go from being a powerful broker of generational
yeah,
change to a powerful oppressor
yeah,
against generational
yeah,
change. And
absolutely.
I don't think sometimes women see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this mother-daughter dynamics extend
Yes.
beyond the mother-daughter relationship. And, for this reason, I feel like every woman should do mother-daughter work. If they want to level
Agreed.
up as a woman, even if for some reason, they're can't do the work with mother for whatever reason,
Mm,
or daughter, or whatever, for whatever reason, there are certain areas that even if for some reason you cannot do that work with your mother or daughter, you could still find healing
yeah,
and create that generational change in your own way.
absolutely.
So it's
Because we all have this nurturing nature. We were once the squeaky clean starter to now the supervisor, the CEO, the whatever. And I think at the end of the day, the home and the work are the key areas of our lives, and they shouldn't be separate.
no, no,
And yeah, I just think sometimes they're and it's not all. I've seen so many beautiful, beautiful dynamics of women really empowering, supporting, and uplifting others. But equally, I think because so many women are still in decisions that they know they wish they never made, they find that very hard to be able to um be in a healed place to help another. And I just think, yeah, they're still, and it's improving because of beautiful women like you and the work you're doing. But yeah, I think we really, really, really need to not see each other as competition, and to see each other as, in that moment, what can I do to help another woman? Because I think often we're comparing beauty, we're comparing success, we're comparing so many things which don't even belong to us. And often
that's
there's such an abundance that we don't need to. Even if
no,
came off this call and felt inspired and decided, you inspired me and I want to be a mother, daughter coach, that could have two dynamics of she's copying me, or it could be, wow, I inspired her. Because imagine in the work that you do, if that was only your work in this lifetime, no one else's, how would we reach many more hearts and minds?
right,
We should
right.
want to inspire others. But I think so often we see it as, oh, they're doing my idea, what I wanted to do, but nothing really belongs to us.
Right. It's a threat. And
Yeah.
when you think about those dynamics, what women don't realize is some of that stems from the mother-daughter dynamic.
But that's what I'm saying.
And,
This is why
you
I'm
know,
so happy
it's
to speak
so,
to you today, because
yeah,
that's why I like, I know it sounds like the zoom out, but no, the zoom out is a repeat. You know, we all came from a mother, all of us,
yes.
and so it all links, and that's why I'm so happy to connect with you today. Thank you, Erica.
Me too. Me too. I think, this work, when I do work with women, we do talk about we do address, of course, the pain points that brings them in
Yeah.
to mother-daughter coaching in the first place. But one thing I do make it a point is to remind them that this work that they're doing is actually greater than themselves.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and I think sometimes, it's interesting kind of the look I get of like, oh, I never thought about it that way. Um, but it's true. You are, the work that you are doing here is going to pay dividends for the women that follow you. And it may not be in your family line,
Yeah.
but the women that are around you in your life. And, instead of treating them as a threat, right? Competition and, squashing them and, doing that,
Mm-mm.
you can get to a place of, where you are genuinely happy for them and
Yeah.
say, how can I support you? How can I help you in this journey? It's really amazing. I'm so,
Yeah.
just inspired by you and things like that, that I think women don't necessarily learn in my work. It is really amazing when you see, I've worked with, and not so much, it was more in a therapeutic way. I've worked with the daughter, but
Yeah.
then I bring in the mother for mother-daughter, like it wasn't even mother-daughter work, it was just more for parent coaching.
Yeah.
But it was just amazing to see how similar they are and
Yes.
how those behaviors tend to perpetuate.
Yeah.
And or how not similar they are, and daughter wanting to break away, but
Mm-mm-mm.
mom looking at it as a threat and
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
disobedient, as her rebelling,
Yes.
and saying, she's not falling in line, and for you know lack of better words, but instead of saying, it seems like she wants to forge her own path.
Yeah.
She may not be doing it in the most productive way because she's yelling and she's screaming and she is like, burning bridges all along the way.
Yeah.
But how can I help her to forge that path in a way where she can step into adulthood as a woman
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
be a trailblazer and be
Yes.
okay
Yeah.
with creating her own path and stepping in her courage to do that. And, when everybody else is doing one thing, she wants to do this thing. Uh,
Mm-mm-mm.
but when they don't recognize it as that, it really
Mm.
is a very complex dynamic.
Oh
And,
yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know,
Absolutely. And actually, when you really think about it, it's almost like the pioneer, isn't it? Of she's forging her own way. But in her own way, isn't it kind of the same still? It's just a very different mirror, because the mum is wanting you do this
yes,
my
yes,
way.
yes,
She's doing her way. So actually, like what you so beautifully highlighted, it looks completely different. But actually, the strong characteristic of the mother, the daughter has also, but in a very different way. And
yes.
so often that is the thing. They look opposite or almost so alike. But when you really define the characteristics, often the personalities in different forms are actually very similar. And that's why we have that.
That,
Because
yeah,
that
definitely.
strong, powerful mother and her mindset isn't that what the pioneer daughter's leading with?
Right, right. I
So
mean,
yeah.
it's really a powerful dynamic. Oh, I wanted to say something and it completely left my mind. Oh, hopefully it comes
It'll
before. And
come back to you.
it was so, I know it was so important. So, poof. But anyway, um, it is. I think that, I think that when it comes to, um, motherhood, I think, mothers have a lot of power in such a good way,
Yeah.
right? To, um, you know, and in such a bad way. It really depends on how the mother comes into motherhood. And what's
Mm,
unfortunate sometimes is sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
one of the things that I talk about too when I have the mother and daughter in mother daughter coaching is, we don't know what we don't know. But once we know, then it is our responsibility to do
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
And so, because you become a steward, right? A steward of this generational change, and
Yeah.
you are touching more lives than what you think,
Yeah.
than what you're doing in the room. You're touching the life of your daughter or, your mother if they're doing adult work. Um, but at the same time, this work goes beyond, you
Exactly,
know.
because how will she be with her little ones and so forth? How will they be with their little ones? What choices will they make? Will they pick certain partners and certain boundaries and dynamics? And that's the thing. Often it's way, way, as you so beautifully said, beyond us. And often we don't even see the generational effects of what seed started and created and created and created to build these
Exactly.
empowered women. I think it's
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly. I know what I wanted to say.
I knew it'd come back to
Okay. I'm so glad it came back.
you.
So, one thing, is I've been reflecting a lot about this. And, one thing about mother-daughter work is that it is a resilience builder for women,
Mm,
and a powerful woman is a resilient woman.
yeah,
A
yeah,
resilient woman is a powerful woman. The
yeah,
skills that you learn, right? And the skills that you learn in a healthy mother-daughter relationship, like
yeah.
the ability to express your needs, the ability um, express your boundaries, and the freedom for you to even establish those boundaries and enforce those boundaries, hold those
Mm.
boundaries, even when they're most difficult.
And
The
in a
ability,
loving way, can you? Because we can
and
have
in
the
a loving way.
boundary and
Yes,
it can come with so much chaos. But
right.
equally, communication. We can
Yes.
all work on
On
communication.
communication, right? Right. Exactly.
Whole
Exactly.
lifetime.
Right. Communication, is really, just all these skills, that I think, especially moms of, teen daughters, and they have teen daughters right now, is, you know, through the relationship, she's teaching her some really important
Mm,
life skills.
yeah.
Often, and this is interesting because I grew up with this dynamic. Um, I was the oldest and I was very ultra responsible, but I was also really quiet and internalized everything.
Mm,
Um, what that made me was a keen observer.
mm,
um, I observed more than I talked. But
yeah.
it's really interesting. Sometimes we, as mothers, have to be aware that our daughters are seeing us. They're looking at us into what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Even, for example, are you able to hold your boundaries? A
Absolutely.
neighbor comes to you and says, "Hey, I really need your help," but she's got all these things lined up for the day, and she says, and she's trying to be a great neighbor and a good person and a helpful person, but at the same time, if her daughter's with her, right, her daughter is saying, "Oh, I guess it's okay for me to really, if I have a lot, um, I guess this is the way to be of I can add more to the plate. And
Yeah, yeah,
is really going through, but she is observing the behavior. With time, she understands how it is the consequence of that behavior.
yeah, yeah.
Overextension, people pleasing,
Mm.
and just to name a few. And
That's so powerful what you've mentioned because again, viewing someone in the home, and not saying that people put on masks, but then seeing how they respond to someone that's not in the home, that doesn't know what's just happened or whatever, and how they're maybe changing, I don't know, moods or yeah, all of a sudden like saying, gosh, we need to do, and then all of a sudden they've stopped and they've changed everything. That is so much insight to whoever is in that household, that like even if you're unconscious of it, what
exactly.
people are picking up on just observing is
Mhm.
creating so many subconscious beliefs
Right.
or understandings or insights or whatever it is. And obviously
Mhm.
most of the time, depending on age, we're often that key role model is our role model.
Right.
That's how we see. Um,
Right.
whether it feels good or it doesn't feel good, that's all we know. Like what you say, we only know what we know.
Mhm.
Um, and equally, even the other beautiful, like our nieces, uh,
Right. Right.
all
Yes.
all different, all
Yes.
different,
Right.
all different.
Essence, it's
Yeah,
just yes.
seeing the
Yes.
difference in how the sisters behave and how mum behaves, how auntie behaves, how
Yes.
it all comes into it all comes into play, all of it.
All of it.
Um,
All of it. Yeah.
yeah,
It's amazing what, daughters observe things. For me,
yeah,
I remember, going on Sundays to my grandmother, and all my aunts would be there, my mom would be there, and they'd talk about, just family dynamics and,
yeah.
and judging. And, that, this just is not right. And so for me, seeing that as a young girl, right? Um, what I internalized was I need to be, I guess I can't bring my authentic self to the
Mm.
plate. I guess I can't make mistakes because I will be judged.
And
So,
that's very insightful because
yeah,
most little ones would probably think when women come together, this is what you do.
exactly. And that's right.
Yeah.
And they'll repeat the behavior sometimes,
Mm.
but when you take it to another
Yeah,
level like that,
absolutely.
and for me, that's one of the things that was really, really hard for me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
struggled with perfectionism for a long time. I would like
Mm.
to say I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Me too. I'll be with you with that one. I like to as well. And then I do certain behaviors and I'm like, still ongoing. So
Still a work in
I
progress.
hear
Right,
you.
right. Hey, I think we all are if we get real with ourselves, right? But
Yeah.
just if you take it to a higher level and you have your daughter is seeing this and
Yeah.
taking this into her adulthood and saying, I can't make mistakes.
Yes.
Otherwise, I will be judged. I will be looked down upon.
Mm-mm-mm.
I can't make mistakes in my friendships, in my work,
Oh
in my
yeah.
marriage, in my motherhood, right?
Yes,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so many things. Our moms are such a foundational um, source of how we navigate the world as a woman.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
you see how harmless that act could be?
Yes,
So harmless, but imagine the complexity through what you observed that it created in your own life.
right.
And that's what we need to be conscious of. Um, you know, I just think, yeah, of course, we're not robots, we're human, but as
Mm.
much as possible, and we can really be present in the moment and really observant and aware of all that is happening around us, not just the moment that we're in, but everything that is happening around us, that can shatter so many generational patterns.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
how great would it be for a woman to feel free to be vulnerable,
yeah,
feel free to make mistakes, because that's the only way we get good at things,
yeah.
and fully realizing that. And, but when you see
Beautiful.
something like that, you don't give
Yeah.
yourself that space. So,
Well, Erica, I know all your details are going to be in the description, but I don't even think this is not a selling podcast anyway, but you absolutely do not even need to define or sell or say any more of what you're doing and creating. I just know someone listening to this right now, they will just know that they need to connect with an incredible woman like you. Um, I think it's absolutely so crucial what you are leading the way with, and still being so vulnerable and so communicating even dynamics now and saying, this is what I'm doing, but equally I'm still very reflective of this, very connected to this. And that to me is a true leader, because saying a title and saying we are now this doesn't mean perfection, doesn't mean
correct.
we now make no mistakes and we're never going to get it wrong and we know everything. No, no, no. I'm really in awe of you, and I love all that you're creating, and it's something very personal to me as well. And yeah, really thank you.
Oh, and
Obviously, equally, if there's anything you have not shared right now that you still wanted to talk about, this is your episode, your moment, so feel
oh,
free. But it's been above and beyond a pleasure connecting with you.
oh, I feel like we've had, I mean, this is probably one of my favorite conversations I've had on a podcast. So I thank you for allowing the space and the freedom for our conversation and our dialogue to go in this. Otherwise, it wouldn't have, just touch on some things. And at this point, it feels like a complete conversation and,
Yeah.
a complete dialogue. So thank you for that.
Oh, you are so welcome. And just as something, just it doesn't have to be related to what we spoke about, but if there was someone listening right now that would really benefit from hearing something right now in this moment, what would you tell them?
Sure. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think what I would say is, I think a mother-daughter relationship is a complex relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes we bring in dynamics that we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So we do the best that we can with what we
Yeah.
have. So it's not necessarily, a failure. It's not necessarily, wouldn't view it as a shortcoming. I would view it as just a journey. And
Yeah.
we're all in this to get better. And, so if you think about your mother-daughter relationship, just reflect on how has that played out in your life.
Yeah.
How would you like for it to work in your favor so that you can become the best version of yourself, so that future
Beautiful.
generations can become, of women following you, become the
Yeah.
best version of themselves in your wake.
Absolutely beautiful. Really, thank you. I can't say thank you enough, Erica. It's been a pleasure. And I know, not only being the one having this conversation, but I know that this is going to really empower and uplift and even reframe so much in so many people's lives, mothers, daughters, fathers, sons. Because essentially we all have those role models, we have those key figures. That, like what you say, influences so much, whether positively, negatively, unconsciously, consciously. And I believe the moment we stop this and we do more this, we really can empower ourselves. So really, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I love this conversation.
Me too. Thank you.
That's the magic. That's Zest to Zen.